So as you can see on screen, today we're talking about HR and payroll for distributed teams, but we're really just talking about HR and payroll. For anyone who's here, we're talking about how that works when you're a group on Xero, maybe a multi-location, multi-venue, you've got staff in different places, working in different locations. All of that will be covered today. My name's Jack Thiel. I'm the APAC commercial lead at Mayday and very fortunate to be trusted with the role of facilitating each of these webinars. I'm an accountant by trade. I started my career with PwC and then spent some time in a small local advisory firm, which was really at the height of Xero's growth, or what felt like the height of Xero's growth, and really loved that tech side of it. So for the last 6 years, I've been fortunate to kind of have made that little transition, still working in the accounting profession, but now in the accounting tech industry. At Mayday, we're built for larger Xero customers. The majority of our users have in-house finance teams, and our mission for them is to help them automate month-end. We're starting with the needs of multi-entity businesses, so we're talking about recharges, cross-entity bank reconciliations, keeping your intercompany loans in check, and we have over 225-star reviews on the Xero App Store. We won Emerging App of the Year last year, and it really thrilled about the opportunity to be supporting this end of the Xero market. Interestingly, though, over the course of time, we've heard time and time again from our own customers that a lot of them are still wondering whether or not Xero is the right accounting platform for them. Can I grow with it? Can I scale with it? Do I need to move up market to an ERP? If I can stay on it, can I do that indefinitely, or is it kind of just delaying the inevitable? And we just feel like because of that uncertainty, it's leading people to take action sooner than they need to. So that means going down the ERP route, which is incredibly expensive. It's a massive implementation in terms of time, cost, resources, and that's before 58% of ERP implementations fail. So we've come up with this idea we call ER Peace of Mind, the peace of mind that you can continue to scale with Xero as your accounting system well into your growth phase. And this series aims to provide that peace of mind, share the precedent, showcase the stories, the businesses who have made it work, and to give you solutions for your own business and your own group as well. Of course, we don't want to overcorrect, though. We don't want to replace one myth with another. We know Xero is not for every business in the world. We know there might be a scenario where you outgrow it or you have some unique complexity that means an ERP is going to be the better way to go. So we'll try and bring that to your attention as well throughout the discussion today and throughout the rest of the series too. So before I go any further, I guess I'm keen to understand who's actually on Xero. I appreciate if you've already tuned in to any of the other sessions in the series. I've probably told you already, but if you could just jump in there, let us know if you're on Xero. And then if you are managing a group, then just how many entities are in your group, just so we have a bit of an idea. So it looks like everyone's on Xero, which is great. And we've got a bit of a variety here. Entities 2 to 5, we've got some over 30, a couple in the middle there as well. So that's awesome. Okay, great. Thanks for jumping in and responding to that so quickly. I'll close that poll now because I don't think we're waiting on anyone else. So I'll do that. But yeah, I guess final point from me before I hand over to our panelists to do their intros. I guess I just want to say that this entire series, everything that we're doing, all the content that we do is framed against the backdrop of how can we be valuable to our target customer. We want that to channel through everything that we do at Mayday and CFO Tech Stack. That's why this isn't product marketing. That's why I'm not wearing a Mayday t-shirt. And it's why we want to make sure that on each of these sessions, we have a good group of people. We've got Lucy, who's coming from an in-house role. We've got Aleesha, who works with clients all over the country, possibly internationally as well. And we've got Lachlan, who's from the employment hero side of things. So, hopefully we can have a really good discussion and get that kind of all those different perspectives and viewpoints. So I guess with that being said, it's probably a good time for the introduction. So Lachlan, I'll hand over to you to kick things off.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jack. So my name's Lachlan Baxter. I'm the Senior Partnership Manager here at Employment Hero. So I work with accountants, bookkeepers, technology advisory businesses, any business that wants their clients to look at HR and payroll software. For those of you who aren't aware or familiar with Employment Hero, we are an employment as a service business. So we offer HR, payroll, and benefits platform or software, but we also offer outsourced HR advisory and outsourced payroll services as well. I'd say I've actually got a pretty similar journey or career background to that of Jack. Spent the first 5 years of my career working as an accountant processing payroll, then moved across to Xero, spent about 5 years there during the real boom period, and I've more recently settled at Employment Hero over the past 18 months. So over to you, Aleesha.
Thank you. Thanks, Lachlan. Hi, everyone. I'm Aleesha Bailey, Director at RSM Australia. RSM Australia is a global accounting, audit, tax and advisory firm. I head up the strategic outsourcing division. This supports our clients with the end-to-end finance function, mainly helping SMEs manage the financial health of their business and understand the risks of their business. Service entails a broad range of services, but mainly board advisory, payroll, management accounting, and technology advisory as well. I've been working in the space for about 8 years. I did start in tax and compliance. It wasn't for me. With the introduction of cloud accounting solutions, I was able to meet with my clients more frequently. I became ingrained in their business through the automation and technology adoption that we're able to take and discuss what's happening in their business more so now rather than quarterly or annually. In my prior firm and at RSM, I was brought on to build these divisions with partnering with the right apps and providers. This has allowed us to scale the service offering to automate and help clients with their finance function.
Brilliant.
Over to
Thanks,
you,
Aleesha.
Lucy.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name's Lucy Colbourne and I'm an accountant here at Kollosche, one of the leading real estates on the Gold Coast. I've been with Kollosche for just over 8 months now. Kollosche's only been around for 5 years, so it's still a fairly new business. I'm working obviously in the in-house finance team. There's just a team of 5 of us at the moment, and my main role is to look after all the management accounting processes, so all the month end on charges, reconciliations and payroll. So that's my main role here. Kollosche has many revenue streams, so we have resi sales, new projects, commercial sales, property management in both commercial and resi, and we also have an internal media agency. So there's a lot of different business operations going on under the one group. So yeah, that's a bit of a backstory about me and here at Kollosche, and I'm here to sort of give everyone a bit of a story on how we've used Mayday and Employment Hero, because given the growth that we've had in the last 5 years, there's been a lot of changes that have needed to happen pretty much instantly. So looking forward to chatting with you all.
Awesome, and very keen to hear the story, obviously having been a little part of it recently. So thanks, Lucy and Lachlan and Aleesha. I guess to maybe kick off the conversation today, and very trying my best to create a conversation that everyone feels comfortable to kind of be open and honest about, because I think, we all love Xero, right? That's, we're all on Xero. Everyone here's on Xero. This whole session and series is about how can we kind of extend the life of the platform. But part of Xero's value is in its ecosystem, which is a key part of understanding its own limits and knowing that, hey, we do some things really well, others we don't do so well, and that's where the ecosystem kind of comes into play. So, Aleesha, I might throw to you first around this kind of point of, let's say payroll and HR. I mean, it's all under we're talking about both today, but how do you see Xero's capabilities here? And then at what points are people listening in probably going to be starting to run into pain points or issues or challenges that they might need to start looking elsewhere?
Yeah. So obviously you're pointing towards me being open and honest about what we're discussing before. Just to sort of preface that, every day, the strategic outsourcing division in Sydney here has roughly between 100 and 150 clients that we provide end-to-end solutions for. So being able to do that, we really need to have the right systems, processes, and people in place. So I'd like to say I know what I'm doing in this space in terms of knowing how pivoting, how important it is to sort of partner with systems. with prior to STP, I think everything in the landscape for payroll was quite manual. One good thing I think about STP was the fact that a lot of businesses did need to go into the cloud. I think Xero was a great option in the initial stages for most businesses. It's a very great, simple, easy payroll system to use. What we're discussing before this call is I do see it caps out a lot sooner than the volume or the number of employees that can sit on a payroll, Xero payroll. I think it limits up to about 200 now. I think from a business perspective, anything 10 and up, I tend to recommend capping out at Xero. Really from considering that end-to-end that you were speaking about there before, Jack, looking at from an operational perspective, a HR perspective, and a payroll perspective, it might seem that it's really efficient to run the payroll in Xero for 10 people, but you're not really factoring in how you're onboarding those staff, how you're collating all the information. Some of the risks that Xero doesn't, it still has limitations around, so award rates. I wouldn't put any award rate client in Xero. I wouldn't put any award rate client not in an automated award system. And just there's limitations in terms of sort of the super. I lose sleep at night with anyone sitting in Xero and not being able to pick up the super caps. And where I'm talking between as well, the operational, there is still quite a lot of limitations in terms of Xero's timesheet functioning, approval, and how that generates through to the payroll. So I could waffle on about it for a while. That's a few things, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, in particular, is there anything, because if everyone listening in is coming from like a multi-entity space, let's, I think one of the more common multi-entity scenarios is we have multiple venues for a restaurant group, multiple locations, multiple business units. Would you also say that, like, is there capability within Xero to manage payroll at that level, or does that trigger a need to
I would say no, it's already award rate, so you're saying it there. The time and attendance function through to payroll, through to onboarding an employee, through to how you account for it is quite a large process that involves a lot of people. And I think considering that you can add an app in that integrates the payroll or the payroll timesheets into Xero, but it's still quite time consuming. What I've seen is, say, I don't want to name other solutions necessarily, but doing the time and attendance and pushing those things into Xero, it's still creating quite a manual element to ensure the accuracy of that payroll. There's risk there. I think there's a lot of risk there in terms of actually turning around the payroll accurately. So what I would say is to find an end-to-end solution that you can do the employee HR, timesheet, rostering, attending, payroll, all the way through to paying your employees in one solution, not 3 or 4. That's where I've seen a lot of breakdown in larger scale businesses. Probably the best example I can think of is working with a childcare group. They had about 20 centres at the time I was working with them, looking to scale to 40 in the next couple of years. The payroll was taking 3 days, I believe. The HR and the payroll team weren't working well together. I felt like I had to go in and sort of separate them and have a timeout. Working with them to understand the breakdown between the two, and people saying it's your fault, the payroll's late, you haven't given me the right information, the information was late. It just created a big breakdown. So it's taking 3 days. The payroll was highly inaccurate in certain ways. We were seeing that after the fact because Xero's reporting is quite limited. I'm pushing the payroll timesheets into Xero. The reports coming out of that, we essentially had to build a big configuration in Xero in Excel to try and figure out if anyone had been any discrepancies in the pay. So having the functionality of something like KeyPay to pull that audit report out before the pay run's finished and scan across the different venues to see where there were spikes or inaccuracy is huge. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. No, that
I might
does.
have got around a bit of a tangent and a couple of answers there.
No, that's good. That's good. And I mean, maybe Lachlan, it'd be good to get your perspective here as well. Obviously, Aleesha's kind of called out a bunch of the challenges and pain points and problems people might be dealing with that could be a trigger to move to something like Employment Hero, which, for clarification, KeyPay is the payroll system that you guys use, right? No, that's all right. It's all good. But
I've been
basically,
working with them for that long. That's why.
no, you're fine. I mean, I think it's all the same. It's just so everyone knows. But like, Lachlan, are there any other maybe triggers, pain points that you tend to see quite commonly that might lead to, someone chatting to you guys?
Yeah, I think Aleesha did a really good job of explaining it. I'd say the main one is, they're starting to hit that hard limit in Xero of 200 employees, or they may have awards or EBAs. But I think the really important thing that Aleesha said, it's not necessarily the processing of the payroll, it's the pre-processing or the pre-checks, right? We did research at Employment Hero, and to do a payroll, it's actually quite an impressive number. There's 150 steps to a payroll. And, this is things such as doing timesheets, collating timesheets, setting up employees. Like, they're all minuscule tasks, right, in themselves, but they build up to something big, being the payroll, right? And we speak to businesses and they'll be like, I've got an award interpreter, I've got a payroll solution, I've got a HR solution, I've got a rostering solution and a timesheet solution. Do they integrate? Not necessarily. So when you've got 150 steps over 5 different softwares that don't talk to each other, and as Aleesha alluded to, might be with the HR department or the payroll department, it's a recipe for disaster. Like, it's the perfect storm. And that's what we see a lot. And then you throw in the added complexity of a multi-entity business or a business that has 5 different locations. Like, it's probably pretty likely your payroll is going to be wrong in that regard. So I think when we're definitely talking multi-entity and maybe the larger end of town, or not even necessarily the larger end of town, really any business, having that all-in-one solution from recruitment, onboarding, all the way through to processing the payroll, it just pays dividends in itself. Just no transposing of data, everything all in the one solution, right? Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to get payroll wrong because your employees aren't going to turn up, right? They're the lifeblood of your business. And, just kind of investing in that all-in-one tool that is tried and proven is absolutely worth it. And we see some amazing results with businesses, especially multi-entity. So I guess, yeah, hopefully that's answered your question there, Jack.
No, absolutely. And I think you kind of hit on something that I think is a broader, like, it's part of a bigger discussion that we're having here around the whole best of breed and all-in-one component. And I think it's worth clarifying that Employment Hero is an all-in-one from a payroll and HR perspective, whereas something like an ERP is saying we can be everything in one system. And so, I'm often talking about the strengths of Xero Plus apps as an ability to build something that's best of breed for your business. That doesn't mean it's all in one, but it means that each of those key components should be tackling like a pretty important workflow, a pretty important process. And yeah, you don't want that just running payroll to be split up into 5 different tools. But there is probably 5 different tools you're going to use to run your accounting function, but not all in payroll. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's a good point to kind of call out, that having something that's streamlined and seamless that tackles that workflow really well is going to be key. Lucy, I kind of want to throw to you now. Like, we've heard Aleesha, she's obviously seen a whole bunch of different client scenarios here that they've run into issues, or maybe they should have moved off of Xero sooner. Lachlan's kind of added to that. You've just been through it quite recently with Kollosche. So, I mean, maybe you can tell it like firsthand what your story was, what you were dealing with, what was the trigger point to move, how did that process go? If anyone's listening here who's just using Xero Payroll, then maybe you can kind of shed some light on what they're about to go through and the end result.
Yeah, of course. So a bit more of a backstory at Kollosche here. There's 8 entities within the Kollosche group. 7 of those employ staff. So pretty much each revenue stream has its own entity. And they were all running through Xero. Now, when I started, they were already at the beginning stage of implementing Employment Hero. The main trigger point was for the HR functionality, as we just were mentioning. Our HR department didn't have any sort of visibility of recruitment, onboarding, offboarding, all of the HR functions that you need for a scaling business. And they were manually doing it in a different software, and then our payroll staff would be manually then entering it in Xero, and there'd be about 3 or 4 different people all doing the same thing, just on different platforms. So they looked into different apps and what we could use, and Employment Hero was what came up. And so now the implementation from Xero to Employment Hero was pretty straightforward in terms of just moving all the data over, as you do with STP, employee data, all the rest of it. So we've been using Employment Hero for 6 months now properly, and it's just made my life. Like, I run all the payroll now. It's a one-man show at the moment for all entities, and it's just made my life so much easier. Using Xero, like you guys were mentioning, it was okay for Kollosche at the beginning, but given that there's 7 entities now, in 2 of our entities there's 25 staff, the others aren't so large, so they probably could have got away with staying in Xero. But even just moving between entities in Xero as opposed to in Employment Hero on the payroll aspect is probably one of the best positives that's come out of it, just because I know most of you would probably know Xero can be quite clunky to move, especially if you're working in between entities. I find sometimes you can't be in one or 2 at the same time, whereas in Employment Hero I can have them all open in a tab, and I can like, managers can see from their end what's going on with their payroll. And like, for example, one of our entities we track in our media agency, we track all of our staff within their categories, so like copywriting, design, digital, etc. My favorite part of Employment Hero with that is that I've actually coded up in the background of Employment Hero all those employee categories, so that when the journal exports to Xero, it goes straight in. The department head can see on their budget, on their P&L, exactly how much for each department their salary is. Xero, yes, has the capability to do that, but I just found reporting was so much harder. Sorry, I've just realized I've been waffling. What my main takeaway from this is the reporting side of Employment Hero has just been amazing for payroll, accounting, HR, everyone. We can go in and get what we need. And like, especially with how quickly the business has been growing, like, we've got 7 department heads now that need to have an oversight of their staff, so we can just flick them a report that says this is, like, for example, leave balances. They want to know how much leave their staff have got. We can flick them that report and say, this is it at this point in time, which we've automated as well. Xero doesn't quite have that ability for reporting. So it's just little things like that that have been the biggest wins for me. Before I cut myself off, I also just wanted to mention that in terms of also paying commissions, because obviously being in a real estate industry, we pay commissions almost every pay run to different staff. Just the ability to easily access and set up these pay categories and know that the tax is being calculated correctly and all of my categories are correct. And even just going into, like, if I'm ever unsure and I go onto Employment Hero website and I search something, it comes up straight away. Whereas I found in Xero, it was a bit harder to know exactly what category, if it's sitting right, if it's calculating right. So I kind of can't fault Employment Hero. As much as we love Xero for our accounting side of it, I really appreciate the work that Employment Hero does for me for payroll. It's just taken away so much stress and time off my hands.
No, that's brilliant. Go for it, Aleesha.
There, Lucy, is like Xero is a financial management system primarily, whereas Employment Hero is a payroll solution.
Exactly.
I don't believe Xero ever and decided to go down the track to be a payroll solution, and that's where the point of difference is. They've built the system specifically for what's needed. Yeah. So
yeah, that's what we talk about a lot. Yeah, we've had a few conversations internally, people going, oh, why did we move, da, da, da? And myself and the CFO basically said, long story short, Xero, from our perspective, payroll was just an add-on. It was almost like not an afterthought, but it was basically there as an add-on. So for us in our business, it just didn't fit for what we needed anymore.
No, that's brilliant, Lucy. And to kind of understand the realities of day-to-day life I think it's nice to get to that level of detail. And I know the multi-location, posting straight through to Xero can be huge. It works really well alongside, what we've built at Mayday as well, recharging costs from, a central entity out to other subsidiaries or other locations and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a really nice workflow and great for reporting, as you mentioned. Lachlan, from a solutions perspective, if we're talking about payroll, HR, and we're growing as a business and we've got, all of these challenges and locations and whatever else, like I know Employment Hero have other components to their offering as well, not just the platform, but like, it's not, I think it's relevant to talk about it. So I'm curious if, what you'd kind of add there around like remote hiring. I know if your business is based overseas, you can employ through remote heroes, or is that kind of like, I don't know if you call it remote
Yeah,
heroes just through
exactly right, Jack. It actually kind of ties in nicely. I can see a question in the Q&A box just with regard to kind of multi countries. So I guess I might just begin with what else we do offer, and then kind of address the question on the back of that. So you're correct, right? Like we do offer payroll around the world. So you can have a native payroll product in the UK and New Zealand and Australia, Singapore, Malaysia as well. So if you do have entities over there, that isn't a concern as well. We can definitely accommodate for that. And it's the same with recruitment as well. We can also help you recruit staff virtually anywhere in the world. And I guess to answer the question in the Q&A box, so we don't have a native payroll solution in Canada. So you can't just purchase a subscription to pay in Canada. But as Jack said, we offer an employer of record service. So what this is we partner with selected recruitment agents and employment agencies around the world that can help you pay your staff in Canada, or help you recruit in Canada, or can help you manage your employees in Canada. And it's all done through the Employment Hero platform as well. So if you want to check that out, just to the person asking the question, it's called our Global Teams product. So just Google that and you can find out some more information. But yeah, getting back to it, Jack, like we're not just focused on being able to recruit, onboard, employ in Australia, New Zealand, and kind of the English speaking first countries, if you will. We also do want to help businesses make employment easier and more rewarding for virtually if you hire anywhere around the world. And we can also do this by offering services. There's a really big shift from Employment Hero saying, we don't just want to give you the software, like that's well and good, but as Lucy was alluding to before, like some of these businesses grow really quickly, right? Like you can have a business that's got 10 staff one year and 70 the next, and it might just be, the payroll person or an accountant doing payroll and HR, and it just doesn't really work. So Employment Hero does also offer services. So we can also offer HR advisory services, kind of outsourcing your HR alongside payroll as well. And I think that works really well for multi-entity businesses that might have a little bit more complex needs with their payroll and or HR as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Lachlan. And so clearly there's a fair few things for people to leave today thinking about in terms of what they might need, solutions, that kind of stuff. Clearly, Employment Hero has done a good job with your business, Lucy, Aleesha, for a lot of your clients. Maybe, I don't know, Aleesha, like, is it something you've ever found a limit to? Is like, obviously Xero you found a limit to in terms of payroll, but is there any need for a business at some stage to say, hey, actually, even Employment Hero is not the right solution for us. We're too big for that or too complex for that?
Oh, look, there's always probably a limit for every system, I should say. I think we should never say there's not. I haven't personally, with the clients that we've worked with, some of them go up to 350. I haven't found a limit yet. In short.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, is there anything from your side, Lachlan? Do you guys advertise like, look, we can basically handle things forever, or is there a point where you'd say, look, we kind of cap out at some point? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I would definitely say our sweet spot is obviously 10 employees up to, I don't know, let's call it 800 is probably that sweet spot. But that's not to say we don't have clients that also process payroll in the thousands, right? Like similar to how we talk about Xero, right? Like we are a core payroll HR solution. Like Xero is a core, accounting solution. You could have 500 employees, but still just use, Xero for, your general ledger. Like similar with Employment Hero, right? Like if you've got, 2,000 employees, but the payroll is quite basic, there's absolutely no reason that you still can't use Employment Hero to manage your staff and do payroll as well. So I guess in short, like we don't have any limits. Look, if you've got a few thousand employees, we'll definitely advise, hey, maybe something else, or we're a good fit. But yeah, we can definitely cater for any size business in any real industry as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. We've got a question here that's just come up, and please feel free to fire through more questions. We've got a little bit more time, so happy to answer anything that's on people's minds. So is Employment Hero available for non-Xero entities as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are using, I don't know, MYOB or Sage or QuickBooks, you can absolutely use Employment Hero. We're definitely, I guess, agnostic in terms of accounting software. But that said, we do have a really great integration built with Xero. And I dare say that's our most integrated product. I think we've got, I can't exactly say the number, but in excess of tens of thousands of businesses using the Xero integration.
Yeah, sweet.
To add to that, I'm not sure if it will help. We obviously do a lot of payrolls for foreign inbound clients. So global organizations just looking to want to set up in Australia, not ready to hire a full finance team. So we do a lot of payroll where they integrate everything up into an ERP system across the global practice. Any of the exports out of Employment Hero are really flexible and easy to import into any system. And I'm always one to say you want all systems to integrate natively and automatically, but where you're saving X amount of time on the payroll, that one little manual upload sometimes is worth it.
Yeah, good call, good shout out. I mean, we're kind of getting towards the pointy end of the conversation. So, I mean, Lachlan, Lucy, Aleesha, is there any other kind of final key takeaway or piece of advice that you'd want to leave people with on this front? Obviously, there's been a ton that we've already discussed, but I'm just wondering if there's anything else that we haven't had the chance to mention or is, tangential to our conversation today, slightly off to the side that maybe people aren't thinking about, or that's been a really big benefit. I mean, I'm not sure, Lucy, if you can think about anything from your own learnings. I didn't feel like you went on and on in your story, so I'm happy to hear any more that you can share about kind of the outcomes and maybe in terms of the time saving, what does that look like?
Yeah, so for us, it definitely saves time. It probably takes me, I don't know, it's a fortnightly payroll system, and probably all up, not even half a day or something to run payroll with how easy it is. And most of our staff are on salaries. We've probably got about 30% each fortnight that have commissions based, but the way we monitor that externally with department heads is that it doesn't take too much. That's the biggest time waster, I suppose, of the payroll for me. And that's purely just from the way that we internally process it, nothing to do with the software. In terms of importing it into the software, it's super easy. Compared to when we were using Xero, it's definitely a lot quicker. It's a lot easier as well I find if I need to do an ad hoc pay run, that's something that I've also found really handy, because often we run our payroll system Monday to Sunday, but we pay people on a Thursday. So often there's always that day where there might be changes. And if it's an urgent change, I just find the ability to create an ad hoc pay run and have everything correctly, and then STP report correctly, because obviously that's one of the biggest pain points that I know a lot of businesses have, is making sure that their STP is reporting correctly and they're reporting on time and all the rest of it. I would say it's definitely saved a lot of time within our business. And for me personally as well, being able to be the only person that sort of runs payroll, I think that speaks about how easy it is for us to use.
No, absolutely. I mean, maybe Aleesha, from your perspective, something we haven't delved into too much is like the risks here around not getting payroll right. And I don't know if you see, I think we touched on it, I think you might have touched on it as well, that obviously there are areas maybe around awards and stuff like that where things can go wrong quite quickly. And I mean, have you had clients come to you before who like have, things are not in a good spot, and how do you get through that?
Unfortunately, always.
Yeah.
The clients that tend to outsource to us are coming for a reason, that either the finance or overarching finance isn't working, they're not getting things timely, they're not sure if things are being done right. often a lot of businesses aren't even aware that how they've been doing things aren't right until we put the right systems in place and can actually efficiently report to them on what's been going on. And that's a benefit of Employment Hero Pay as well, is being able to extract that reporting really quickly and showing a business owner, particularly something in a weekly award-based area or industry, being able to extract that and show them the physical reports and explain the penalties and the flow-on effects and the risks and the dollars of even just super's probably the biggest one that we see quite often, not being paid on time, and showing them the SGC charges as well is huge to a business, but they don't really know until it's presented. So yeah, that's, and I did want to add sort of just a parting, I think if you wanted to add what we haven't covered outside of sort of that was really, I think the biggest thing I could suggest is if you are considering what are your options when looking at a new system or app, whether it be in the payroll space or any other space in what you're doing, is to take your time and sort of lean on either your advisor or a consultant or a technology advisor and get multiple options. So I think a lot of businesses just decide to go, okay, that one's the best in the market right now, I'll go with that. I would say look at a few, get someone to look at a few with you and look at what are your sort of main requirements as a business, because every business is different. Some things are going to work really great for you, but not going to be working really great for another business. So take your time and look through that and lean on people to support you through that implementation. It's a one-off implementation. It's not something that your finance team have to do ever again or multiple times. So lean on experts, and while you're doing it as well, also assess the whole ecosystem. Often we see a lot of businesses, and as talking to Employment Hero, I've seen a lot of businesses say, I just want to focus on payroll. I just want to fix up my payroll solution. But then I'm like, well, all this is quite connected. Your HR, your timesheets, your operational components of how you track your staff's time. So it's really, yeah, take the time, look at the ecosystem and lean on support. Yeah.
No, great shout. Great shout.
Aleesha just raised a good point there. Sorry, I just want to jump in when you were talking about reporting. That's also a really, so we pay our super fortnightly, and what I love about it is we don't miss it, because when you run the payroll, there's actually, like, as you would know, Lachlan, the little button that pops up and it says, you haven't paid your super yet. You've done everything else, but the super for this fortnight hasn't been paid. And we're on top of it. We know what we need to do, but I just find that that's such a great hack, because if there's ever a fortnight where, say, if I'm away and someone else has to run it in our team or whatever it may be, I can come back and I can see exactly what we're up to. And the reporting as well, that's just the last thing I wanted to add. I know I've already touched on it, but each month we've set up the automatic reports to send to our department heads that say, this is, leave liability or balances or what else. There's another one I can't think of the top of my head that we send off. And that's been great for our staff, and not just staff, but department heads. So yeah, when you mentioned reporting, I just wanted to jump in there and say I can back that as someone who uses it. Yeah, I really find it beneficial.
Awesome. Thanks, Lucy. That's great. Lachlan, any final takeaway from your side?
Just kind of echo what Aleesha said. Like, compliance is what we're here for at Employment Hero. Like, our company was born out of an employment law firm. And, the philosophy that I always have, and when I speak to a lot of businesses, is you can turn on the news or you can read the Accountants Daily and you'll see companies like BHP or Crown, they've underpaid employees. Like, can you imagine the size and the resources of their like HR teams, payroll teams, industrial relation teams? If they're getting it wrong, what does that mean for SMB and even, larger businesses in Australia, right? Like, invest in the tools to make it easier for yourself. You may be a great engineering firm or law firm, or whatever it may be, but you know, payroll and HR is our strong suit. Like, let us help you. And as Aleesha said, we work with so many great partners like RSM who have a wealth of knowledge. You know, partner up with them. Let them suggest 2 or 3 softwares. You know, it doesn't just have to be HR and payroll. It could be inventory, accounts receivable, payroll, whatever it may be, and build out that best of breed, you know, tech stack. And, you know, start early as well. Give yourself a lot of time. Like, if you look at payroll, right, don't wait till you have 198 employees in Xero to say, oh, wait, like, you know, we need to look at something. You know, do it when you've got 150 and just kind of keep your options open there and give yourself time to have a smooth migration. Make sure, you know, you're on the platform and it's working, your parallel pay runs are correct. Like, similar guys, I could waffle on this for hours, but I guess the biggest thing there is, like, you know, use an advisor like an RSM or, you know, your accountant or tech advisor, and just give yourself plenty of time. There's so many options out there for all different types of software, and, you know, Employment Hero may not be the best for you and something else may be better. I don't know, but just give yourself the ability and time and resources to assess.
Yeah, no, great shout. And to that point around compliance, I guess my takeaway or my kind of key thing to think about here is that there's different levels to software and products like Employment Hero, and they start as a foundational level of around meeting compliance requirements and just getting the job done as it needs to be done. And I think a payroll solution is a great example of that. So as an accounting product, then you go up from there into your optimization. You know, we're just trying to be more efficient in getting our processes done. So you kind of need to start with making sure you've got that tech stack there that's just making sure you're doing your job, you're doing it right in abidance by the law. You can sleep at night knowing that your staff are getting paid. And I think in particular, getting your staff paid correctly is probably the most important thing in running a business. And I think most business owners would agree with that. So I guess that's a really nice, hopefully a nice place to leave it. Apologies if you can hear my dog in the background losing it, but it's just must be that time of day. I'll just chuck up a final poll to see if anyone would like to book a demo with Employment Hero. I've also mentioned Mayday as well, just because I'm here, but don't stress if there's no relevance for you on either of those. And then in terms of what's coming next in the series, we've got consolidated reporting with Join tomorrow, and that wraps up the series. So yeah, thank you all for coming. Lachlan, Lucy, Aleesha, it's been a pleasure to host, and thanks to everybody for joining us. I hope that was valuable. Hope you enjoyed it.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks,
See ya.
Jack.
Yeah, thanks
See
for
ya.
having me.
Bye, Lucy. Thank you.
All right.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.